lastly, for our news, we're kind of light on news this week, but I think this is still very important to talk about because, one, we talk about movies and TV, but we also talk about just the general entertainment landscape. And honestly, even if you don't follow the world of professional wrestling, this has to be some of the biggest entertainment news in the last 20 to 30 years. And that is Vince McMahon, the chief everything at WWE, has quote unquote retired. Retired, resigned, depending on which papers you read. If you're not following, this is not surprising, as the weeks leading up to this, it's not even so much allegations. It was just stuff has come out about Vince McMahon. Now it's come out that he was using company money to...
Yeah.
Because that came out earlier this week, which he vehemently denied before. He's using his own money, which still is icky. But Vince McMahon was using company money to pay hush money to female employees that he basically forced to have relationships with and then basically fired them. So, yeah, that's all kinds of icky. But the sad thing is, for a lot of us wrestling fans, we're going, yeah, it's gross. But we can't say we're surprised because Vince has always struck us as a very gross human being.
Yeah.
But why this is important in the entertainment business is he's been the top guy. He has been literally the guy for WWE, the face of everything, good and bad, since the 80s. So without him, everything in this global empire changes. I won't say it's to the scale of like Steve Jobs leaving, but if Tim Cook retired tomorrow out of nowhere, we would probably still talk about it here because that's the head of a massive company that's runs a multi-billion-dollar organization. So Vince McMahon has quote-unquote retired, resigned. His statement, I read his statement to the wrestlers, which is super bizarre. He's just like, I'm 77. I can't believe it. OMG. And I'm going, oh, please, God, Vince, don't tell me you actually say OMG, because I could see Vince being the old guy that thinks he can still say OMG. But he is retired. Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan, we'll talk about Nick Khan here in a second, are now the co-CEOs of WWE, and Triple H has taken over duties as Chief Creative Officer.
Yeah, duties.
And creative. And all the people that know wrestling rejoice, because if you even slightly know wrestling, Triple H is a very much different minded individual than Vince McMahon. Yes, he's got an ego, but he's not a gross person. He's also a lot smarter. I talked briefly about Nick Khan, or teased Nick Khan. This guy kind of scares me. Not much scares me in life. Nick Khan does. So Nick Khan was brought into WWE by Vince McMahon like 2 years ago to kind of just be the new like second in command, so to speak. Since Nick Khan has taken over, he has single-handedly gotten rid of John Laurinaitis, who was Vince's second in command. He's gotten rid of Vince McMahon himself. He got rid of Stephanie and Triple H at one point. Now they're back in the fold. Nick Khan basically went from a captain to the freaking general, basically in the span of 2 years. Like, it will never happen. But I would love a Succession-style TV show off the drama surrounding WWE and the McMahon family. Like, it's so much more interesting behind the scenes and versus what's in front of the camera. Like, if you ever really want to know some like Game of Thrones level stuff, look up the relationship between Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Shane McMahon of like, who gets the actual power? The birth son or the son-in-law? There's this whole interesting dynamic there. That's super fascinating. But Triple H is in charge. And Josh and I say, hallelujah, we might actually watch again. Because when Josh and I watched in our prime, it was when Triple H ran this thing called NXT, which was like the developmental brand. And oh my God, it was like night and day comparing NXT to the quote-unquote main roster, like the Raw and the SmackDown, what you see on main television. There was this weird thing like actually like wrestling, which was weird, and World Wrestling Entertainment. Also, there's this thing called entertainment, which was missing in your World Wrestling Entertainment. Just the mindsets are very, very different.
Very, very different.
for those expecting overnight changes, like, oh, I'm going to watch SummerSlam this weekend, and all the NXT guys are going to go over, Triple H is going to come out, we are WWE, and, like, completely change the landscape, that's not going to happen overnight. But
No.
start to see some gradual changes, I think could be very, very interesting. Break this down for a non-wrestling fan, Josh, and why people should care about this, honestly, huge shakeup in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the big thing, I think the difference between Vince McMahon's mindset and this is as someone who has been removed for the past couple of years, really, from the wrestling landscape, both physically and just mentally. I just don't care in general. The big thing to keep in mind here is that other brands, other wrestling brands like AEW, like ROH, like Impact, have actually started to put out some really incredible content, some incredible shows with some incredible wrestlers and characters. And it is now no longer a time where WWE is the only / the best wrestling brand, in my opinion. So it means a lot. And I think some of my favorite things about NXT were the times when Triple H was in charge of branding and of character work and making all those decisions. So I'm curious to see how it changes things going forward. One of the big things to kind of keep in mind is when during the pandemic, and it was the mass firing of talent, because Vince had this terrible habit of he didn't want these wrestlers out on the indie tracks, giving them competition. So they would, hire them on and then lock them down into multi-year contracts and then never use them. And so these guys would literally be at home, not being paid, sure, but not being able to do the thing that they're being paid for. And also, I don't know, that he shut down all their Twitch channels and they're not allowed to have outside income and stuff. It was all kinds of bad legal stuff. Yeah.
Vince very much treated, for if you ever really want to get depressed and you don't know WWE, wrestlers in WWE are treated as basically like sideshow attractions. They are labeled as contractors, but they are required certain obligations. They are not treated as employees. They don't have health care. They have to pay for their own everything. So I am hoping with Vince and with Triple H in charge, that starts Triple H and Steph both raise in a locker room environment as opposed to, the guy born and raised on a pedestal, so to speak.
Yeah.
So high above everyone, he doesn't see the problems of the people that he's supposed to utilize to the best of their ability. But yeah, like they couldn't have outside jobs or anything else. Well, he had to make all those budget cuts. How else could he afford that $14 million?
Yeah, there's all kinds of really, like, and obviously this is like the scope of this decision and the impact that it'll have. Time will tell. B, it's, I think, a lot bigger than we really have time to break down or really have the energy to break down. But it's going to be a big deal. Like you said, I don't think anything is going to happen like right away. It's going to be gradual changes. I've got a couple friends that still keep up with the product, and who also listen to the pod. So we'll see. That I'll kind of like reach out to them and see if they've noticed anything recently. But like, so almost everybody I know watches more AEW than they do WWE these days.
The closest I follow WWE right now is like, I will occasionally see something trending on Twitter of like a certain wrestler be like, okay, yeah, that's what they're up to. Supposedly, like last week, nothing was drastically different, but verbiage was different. Like Michael Cole said, welcome WWE fans, or, which I'm going, for all the normies out there going, yeah, he said fans. That's a huge deal. Like, supposedly, like, everyone was much more relaxed. The commentary was much more relaxed. The wrestlers were free to speak more. I do think it's funny that when Vince McMahon announces his retirement, the stock price actually goes up and not down.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll also be very interesting because Triple H is much younger, so he connects better with talent, whether he can pull talent away from other companies. Like in AEW, there's certain guys, Josh's doppelganger, who has his contract coming up with MJF. He is openly talked about going to WWE. Does that change now that someone else is in charge? Do names like Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns or John Cena, who will sometimes come back, are they loyal to Vince or are they loyal to WWE? Like, will they still come back if Triple H is in charge? Most importantly for me, as a video production guy, it is well documented the tension and hatred between Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and Kevin Dunn, the head of production at WWE.
Rid of Kevin Dunn, absolutely.
Kevin Dunn was loyal to a fault to Vince McMahon. Kevin Dunn will be gone before the end of the year at the earliest. Bruce Pritchard was gone. He was a Vince McMahon, like, suck up, basically. No, not Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard's still there for now. He'll be gone, too. John Laurinaitis is the one that's gone because John Laurinaitis also did horrendous things like Vince did. But Kevin Dunn is the guy that's responsible for the way Raw and SmackDown looks and is honestly, and I don't mean this to be facetious, is honestly the worst at his job, and I don't know how he stayed as long as he has. Like, you'll get a guy like Cesaro who used to spin guys, pick them up by the ankles and spin them. It looked cool. Maybe don't rapidly zoom in and out like Wayne's World the entire spin. Just a lot of the video choices that Kevin Dunn has done over the years. I'm just going, what's that Eric Bischoff meme of Kevin Dunn, you freaking idiot, as he comes barging into Gorilla. I'm just going,
yeah.
That's how we all feel. I look forward to the day that we don't have Kevin Dunn. It will never happen, but this will rustle Josh's jimmies. That should be a shirt.
What even was that sentence there, buddy?
Josh's jimmies. Make it like a Josh's face on an ice cream shop. But this should rustle Josh's jimmies. What if WWE presented itself now with a new video director in a similar style as Lucha Underground?
Bro, say less. You know I'm here for it. You know how much I love what
Prince Puma's back from the dead.
I mean, is he still at WWE? I don't think he wasn't at part of the big firings, I think, if I remember
Ricochet's
right.
still there.
Yeah, you never know, man. We need another good character like Mel Muertes. Like, come on, my dude. There's so many, and I'm so happy that like Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix, they're getting work over at AEW. I love that they're working with Pac. Love me, bro. If WWE brings Neville back and he's just continuing his like King of the Ring.
They just call him Pac. They keep the Pac character.
Oh, dude, if they bring him back to WWE, I need my Pac versus Finn. Like it has never. I don't think it's ever happened. So I need it to happen. Absolutely.
Honestly, so heel versus heel matchups are really, really hard to do because you got to have someone that you root for. But if, say, MJF comes to WWE, you get MJF versus Tribal Chief Roman, who honestly is like so good on the mic now.
Yes, he is.
Because y'all, if you're not even if you're not a wrestling fan, look up the verbal sparring between a guy named MJF and CM Punk. Like, there's a couple lines in that even Heather's like, oh, wow, that one hurt. Like, my favorite will always be in terms of just how do you emotionally recover from that? So MJF is a schmarmy, arrogant douchebag. And CM Punk has the greatest line I've ever heard in my life of, he thinks he's special. He thinks what he does is revolutionary to the wrestling business, where in reality, he's just a less famous Miz. And we all just go, just pack your stuff up and go home.
Yeah,
you will never beat that. Although, to be fair, then MJF came back and goes, what happened to the CM Punk that I used to know and love? You just come out here preaching hustle, loyalty, and respect. And I'm going,
ooh, eesh, buddy. Ooh, God. Like, I think, to me, the sign like of Vince leaving, whether or not it was because of the all of the stuff coming out about the hush money he's paid
it
out.
absolutely was.
Absolutely is, but him leaving is a big deal, and I think while like I can't say anything to the quality of the product right now because I don't watch, um, I think this does nothing but help the wrestling landscape as a whole, the entertainment landscape as a whole, because at the end, maybe they'll stop trying to be taken seriously as like a sports entertainment, which doesn't make sense. Just do your thing.